time to start. You ready, Sam? Yeah. Are you Vanna or Sam?
I'm all of the above.
Oh, this ought to be interesting. Okay, you ready? All right. I will call the Planning and Zoning Commission to order for Williams County on Thursday, December 15th. Roll call, please.
Mark?
Here.
Sherelle? Dan?
Yes.
Barry?
Barry? Yes.
Okay. Louise?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Shane?
Yes.
James?
Present.
Kate?
Yes. We do have a quorum. We'll proceed. You've got the minutes from the last meeting. What are the wishes of the board?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
James, I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Aye.
Okay, go ahead, Sam.
Good evening. Hello. Okay, can you hear me?
Yep. There we go.
Okay, great. I think I might have fixed the reverberation issue, but I'm not sure. So hopefully all of the people online can hear us okay. Speak up if you can't. This is our first time running it since we got a new system in here, and we're just learning as we go. So anyways, this is Sam Miller with County Planning. So first on the agenda, we have LU-0105-22. Mr. Rentmaki, on behalf of Mr. Hoddenfield, is requesting a zone change to rural residential for a proposed approximately 7-acre lot. This is identified on the map for the people online. It's a 7-acre property carved out of a section, 160 acres. So the 7-acre lot is what's being requested to be rezoned to rural residential. The remainder will remain in the agricultural zoning district. This subdivision, so the applicant's also working through the subdivision process. This subdivision is a minor subdivision. And the purpose of the lot creation is it's for a proposed single family. There used to be a single family home on there. It was moved off. But now with the request for a zone change, they could have another home placed on the property. The township recommended undecided, so I had talked to the chairman of Oliver Township to follow up after their decision was marked as undecided. It just seemed like they had some existing questions, so I followed up with them. I think they were a little bit confused about what a minor subdivision is and what this could potentially do for the area. So their concern was that this was going to, in essence, create this snowball effect of subdivision in this area. As you all know, this is a very rural area. So they were just concerned about the increased density that this one proposal could create. As you all know, with one subdivision, it's not opening the door to multiple subdivisions. There is a process that any other subsequent subdivision would go through, and the township would be notified with any further development beyond this one. So I told him that, and he wanted to keep his recommendation as undecided since that's what the board had, or their own township board had decided on. So that's why it's marked as undecided still. The plat is ready for recordation. It's technically correct. And my only comments were that this zone change would be contingent on recordation of the plat, and then any further development of the site would have to adhere to all zoning and subdivision regulations.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Any questions for Sam at this time? Okay, if not, hearing. This is a public hearing. Is there any public input? Any public input? Last time, any public input? I'll close the hearing. What are the wishes of the board?
A question for Ed. Is this just a speculation to sell the land off, or what are they trying to do, Ed? There's nothing on there now.
Good evening, this is Ed, 49th latitude. I couldn't really hear what Sam was describing there. It was kind of hit and miss with being able to understand exactly. But anyways, this I'm thinking it's the Hodenfield project.
Yep, that's correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, essentially that's what the plan is, creating that tract around the existing farm site and selling that, and then the remainder would remain as
ag
ag
land,
land,
which
which
I'm not
I'm not sure if Mike can sell farms it or rents it out,
but it is
going to remain ag.
But it's not something to remain in the family. It's on a speculation deal, Ed?
I guess I don't know if there's speculation that that there is a buyer for it, but yeah, the intent is to sell that tract of land.
Okay, any other questions? Any other questions?
In previous meetings, we've talked about attempting to avoid flag-shaped lots. Obviously, we're creating one here, I see why, but it seems like it's a potential just to create more precedent for them.
Sam, do you want to add to that? Is there anything you want to say on that?
No, I think that's a fair assessment of like how cases have gone forward in the past. We do not, planners, we do not advise the lot creation in the shape of flag lots. I think for this one, and just being how rural it is, it was to follow the existing tree row, and that's just the layout of the topography up in this area. We do have more concern with it around denser areas because of emergency reasons. So if you have a bunch of flag lots right in a row, or if you have a house in the front here, you can't necessarily see the one in the back, and it can just create issues for people finding one another. So I think if this were to ever be subdivided out where there was lots in front of this flag portion, that could be a topic of conversation then. But yeah, you're right. We don't like flag lots.
Okay, thanks, Sam.
So is there access come off 23rd there, Sam?
Off of 123rd, yeah. Or well, Michelle, can you? Oh, right here.
Right where her mouse is, that's where there's like an approach into where there used to be a home. You can see that the basement is still there when you go out to the site, and then it's actually down like right in there. But yeah, the approach comes off and kind of goes back into the flaggy area.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. Any other questions? What are the wishes of the board? What are the wishes of the board?
Did we ever get a clarification on that last one we turned down, Sam, when it was on a speculation deal? I mean, what's the intention of the county? Seems like we're separating so many of these just for sale again. If it's for a family member, I guess I can go for that, but why? What did we ever decide from the commission? Did they ever give us any input?
So I think the one you're referring to was the additional home. Was it that one? There was a conditional use permit for an additional dwelling.
Well, they were going to split the lot and sell it on speculation out on off the Granora Road.
Okay. Off of Granora. I guess I don't recall that
The
one.
opinion would be that there's so very little places that out in the country that were existing farmsteads at one time that the current farmer would be willing to sell. So I mean, if you don't want to live in town, you're really kind of hamstrung on a place. So, you know, a decent sized lot, you know, a ways out of town, I don't really see an issue myself.
Okay.
But I will say Sam's really hard to hear. I'm only getting about every third word or something like that. So,
Okay, thanks, Barry. She's working on something back there.
It's just kind of messing with the
well,
controls. Can you hear a little better now?
works pretty good.
Can you hear her when she talks now? Go ahead, Sam.
Hello, hello.
Can you hear that?
But
It's in the
I
shop.
guess for the good of the order, I would make a motion to approve, and you know, with staff comments, I guess.
Is there a second to that motion?
This is James, I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mark,
Yes.
Adam,
Yes.
Dan, Shane,
Yes.
Louise, Barry, James,
Yes.
Tate.
Thank you. Number 2, Mr. Zavalny with Horizon Resources requesting a CUP for propane purposes. This property is currently zoned agriculture. It's out in Tyrone Township. Sam, anything on this one?
Yeah, thank you. So the applicant is requesting the conditional use permit to utilize an existing 18,000 gallon tank that's already located on the property. Let me just find this really quick. So just a little bit of context here. There's access off of 64th. So this is the 13 mile. Here, I'll zoom out a little bit. So just shooting north out of Williston, it's just right to the west where it curves to head east. So it's on this property here. You can see that there's already an existing tank on the site. So they are proposing to store and have the eventual sale of propane. A truck transporting propane will fill the tank. Another truck will extract the propane out of the tank to be delivered to customers in the area. They are not expecting very much traffic, maybe 1 or 2 trucks per day. This property will still remain agricultural, so they can continue those uses on the property. Really, nothing is changing except what is being stored in the tank now, which will be propane if this is approved. The applicant has been in contact with the Williams County Fire Inspector and will have to get his approval prior to operation. We have decided that it will not need their bulk fuel storage application. It'll just need some like written approval from the fire inspector himself. The staff has filled out the CUP evaluation criteria, so you can see that list in your packet, those 7 conditions. And then we just have 3 additional comments. So that would be an approach permit from the county highway department, approval from Williams County Fire Inspector for the storage of the bulk fuel, and then adherence to zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Any questions for Sam at this time? If not, the hearing, this is a public hearing. Is there any public input? Any public input? Last time, any public input? Close the hearing. What are the wishes of the board?
I move to approve with staff comment.
Is there a second to that motion? We have a second. Is there any further discussion?
Just, good, okay.
Yep, go. Go ahead, Dan.
Yes, you can.
Really quick for our listeners online, can we use the microphone?
Yeah, can you come,
Thank you.
I'd ask.
can you come up too, Greg? Thanks, sir.
I'll repeat the question. I asked Greg if it was possible to convert an anhydrous tank to a propane tank.
Yep, we do it every day. There's a lot of propane transport.
Hold on, Barry.
I believe, Dan, that it,
Hold on, Barry. Hold on. Greg's talking here. Hold on, bud. Go ahead, Greg's.
all right.
There's a lot of transports that run up and down the road also that you see those same guys hauling anhydrous in the spring and the fall. And then they convert over in the fall and haul propane all winter and go back to anhydrous in the summer. And it's the same principle on a storage tank as it is on a transport to convert it over.
Go ahead, Dan. No wonder you weren't answering.
Guess, question I had, Sam, I see we got an approach permit. Is there a track out pad anywhere designated in there, or will that be with the approach permit?
That'll be Whoa. That will be determined at the time that they apply for the approach permit with the county highway.
For years, and we'd use propane tankers, and then they're actual propane tankers, but they're the pop-offs are the only real difference in the that's the main difference is the pounds of pressure that the pop-off will go off at is the only real issue there, I believe.
Okay, thanks, Barry. Yep, go ahead, Dan.
I just want to add that I think this is a great plan for Horizon. It saves those guys how many miles coming in and out of town to load every day.
Yeah, instead of running all the trucks all the way through town to the bulk plant at the 4 Mile Corner, this one would be an asset to the North Country. And we've purchased another one that we're looking for a location east of town. And so that'll be coming up later, probably in the spring. We just didn't have time to finish it up before winter hit early.
Okay, any other questions?
This,
Go ahead.
one other thing, we're not buying this land. For now, we're just leasing the land from Silties, and we already have the agreements all drawn up with Silties. We've purchased the tank and the pump, and we're just leasing approximately 1 acre right there. And in the future, if that works out, we could leave it there, or later on, if we decide to move it and buy a piece of land, then we could just move that tank to another piece of land.
Okay, any other questions for Greg? What are the wishes? Was there a motion to approve? Oh, sorry, there was.
I can listen.
That's all right. No, you're good. Okay, go ahead, Barry.
Well, I was just curious how close the closest distance would be.
How close to what?
How close is the nearest residence?
Ron Silty's house.
Ron
And
Silty's
I
house.
just barely.
It's approximately a half mile
About a half a mile to the north
west.
or west. Is it-
Okay.
Yep, west. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Barry. Okay. Roll call, please.
Adam,
Yes.
Dan, Shane,
Yes.
Louise, Barry, James,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Tate.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Appreciate you, approving the one before that. That's a good potential propane customer.
All right, number 3, we have Kevin, and Kevin's on the line here on behalf of Basin Electric. This property is currently zoned agriculture, and it's out in Hebron Township. Sam, would you like to add anything on this one?
Yes, thank you. So, like you had said, the applicant's requesting a zone change from agricultural. Let me just get this up really quick. Agricultural to heavy industrial. Since Kevin is on the line, I'll let him, if he can hear us, explain a little bit more about what they're requesting. But if you see on the map, there's this quarter section here that they are planning to do their construction in. There's a site plan included in your packet, so you can kind of see where on the site they do plan on building. So what it is it's 618 through 20 natural gas reciprocating internal combustion engines, better known as RICE or gas engines, as well as 2 F-class natural gas-fired simple cycle combustion turbines and an electrical switch yard. So Basin Electrical Power Cooperative does own property to the south here as well, and they have a conditional use permit to operate on that site. So there are other properties, as you can see, within that heavy industrial zoning district. That's why they're not applying for a comprehensive plan amendment with this zone change request, because they are adjacent to heavy industrial properties within the heavy industrial zoning district. The proposed project will take access in 2 locations off 151st or County Road 5. They will need to obtain approach permits for those. A little bit about the proposed use. So along with some of the uses that I had listed in as the subject, they'll also have a temporary laydown yard, temporary construction parking lot that will be a part of the project as they are constructing, but then they will return about 35 acres to farmland. 72 acres will be disturbed by these operations, while the remaining 66 will remain undisturbed. About 35 of the acres of the farmland will be disturbed for construction, but returned to its original state following the completion of the project. Since they are along section lines, they will have to maintain those section line setbacks. I have listed surrounding uses just to kind of put in a perspective how rural this part of the county is. There is a church to the north here, but it's about a quarter of a mile from the proposed facility. Staff doesn't think that any screening or buffering would be necessary, but I will leave that up to the commissioners to decide. All exterior lighting shall be fully shielded and directed downward in compliance with our zoning ordinance. And then staff's comments were to obtain approval from the water board, the Williams County Water Resource Board, because they're disrupting over an acre. And then to obtain approach permits from the highway department, as well as to adhere to zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations. And I guess I'll turn it over to the chairman, Mr. Chairman, for any questions.
Okay, we have Kevin on the line, so Sam, I appreciate the update and the info. What we'll do is we'll open up the hearing, and then Kevin, if you would, just kind of take over and explain what you're looking to do. So with that being said, I will open the public hearing. Kevin, do you wish to give us another overview?
All of the highlights. But yes, we're planning the expansion of our Pioneer Generating Station there. And like Sam mentioned, we'd add 2 F-class turbines. So those are about 250 megawatts apiece. So they're quite a bit bigger than the smaller turbines that we already have on site. And there's also six, about 19 megawatt, essentially just big engines or whatever that we would run there. So we would, are looking to add a fair amount of generation there. I can tell you that the project is jurisdictional through the North Dakota Public Service Commission. And so we submitted an application to the PSC back in October, and the public hearing for that is coming up on January 5th in Williston. And also the township, in the permit application package, the township checked off approve, and I did touch base with the township board on December 8th. So I think they had already submitted their kind of recommendation, but I did call in and answer questions a couple Thursdays ago, or maybe just a Thursday ago. They had a lot of questions about transmission lines and the gas pipeline. I think that we're able to answer. And the one thing that I do want to add is so we will need to come back to planning and zoning and to the commission for transmission line. And so that is still in the planning phases. And so the transmission line would go from the new switchyard that we're going to build to our Judson substation, which is kind of on the west side of Williston. And I think, with to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. What we'll do is we'll go through the hearing. And once we're done with that, if we have questions, we'll come back to you if you're good with that.
Okay, very good.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public input? Any public input?
Just a question, since I don't have a copy of,
Can you come up? Yeah, you just have to do it because they're recording it.
My name's Rodney Miller. I'm a local landowner. Since we do not have a copy, but you do, can somebody just say, is it in the south half of that section, quarter, or what are they looking at? They're, how far away from 57th Street Northwest will it be, or?
It's the whole quarter because it's 160, is it not?
Mr. Chairman, there's
Yep.
a site plan in your packet, and Mr. Miller, you can take a look at mine if you'd like.
Well, yes, but it's set back. You're not going to be right up to 57th Street, are you? Will it be the full quarter away from, quarter mile away from the church? We have a schematic of it. Yeah, there's.
They're just pulling some stuff up on the screen, Kevin. Bear with us here.
Yeah, so the facility itself will be, and Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is kind of just what I'm reading from the site plan. So the majority of the facility will be in that southern half of the quarter. Oh, sorry. Quarter.
If I could add, and I can't see the schematic on my screen right now, but most of the turbine facilities will be towards the south part of that quarter, and then there are a couple of it's like a stormwater pond, and then another evaporation pond would be towards the north side of it. So the facilities are kind of tucked down more towards where our existing plant is.
Okay.
And Sam, can you find that page that has the overlay of what's going to be built there? I mean, I got it pulled up right here, but
Yep. Hold on one second. Sorry, I'm just trying to work the computer. Which page were you talking about, Commissioner?
D3, yep.
Oh, okay. Okay.
If you go down a little further,
There's maybe a delay for me with the website, but there's the one that has the topographic map, and it's figure 1-3, it looks like, is probably just about the best one to look at.
yeah, I think in the lower left-hand corner, it says page 13 of 18 on that one.
Okay. Is there any other public input? Last time, any public input? I'll close the hearing. Any questions for Kevin? What are the wishes of the board?
Just one question for Kevin. Do you do a decibel level on these, or is it a high scream, or just how loud is it?
It should be similar to what is out there right now, and in our application to the North Dakota Public Service Commission, there is a noise study as one of the appendices, and I think we're aim for less than 55 dBA at the kind of the nearest residence, and so it meets that criteria.
Okay, thank you.
Just the other thing I could mention as well is, to my knowledge, there have never been any noise complaints for the existing site, and it'll be added on to, but kind of similar in characteristics.
Okay. You get a question?
I did if Mr. Miller, did you have any other follow-up questions, or did you just want to see where the footprint of what it was going to look like?
I can't, he closed it to the public now.
What? That's why James is asking you the question. Is there anything you want to add?
I guess I do it.
Here, come on.
I do have a question about the wastewater discharge. Will that be leaving the facility, going to the east, and then crossing the 151st? And it'll be going onto my brother's property, and then it'll eventually get down to my property. And if there will be any problem with contaminants, I mean, from past experience, I know of they use whatever chemicals in there to keep the weeds down in a facility. And I feel it's gotten onto my land from another company, and I'm getting nowhere with them. It's damaged my land. So I'm worried about which way the water is going to be released from up there.
Kevin, are you able to answer that question?
Yeah, I think I can give it a shot here. And the wastewater ponds, there's a stormwater pond and then an evaporative cooling water blowdown pond. And so both of those, stormwater is, again, relatively clean water. It's, rain and snow melt that crosses the site. And the evaporative cooling water, for the turbines to run at their best during the summer, there's some water kind of misted down to cool the inlet. And at a certain point, the water cycles up. And I think the number's about 1,500 parts per million total dissolved solids, which is really still good water. And so that's the water that would go to the evaporative cooling water blowdown pond. And then we would have, again, there's a lot of moving parts to a facility like this, a lot of different permits, but we would have a permit with the North Dakota Department of Environmental Quality. And so it's called a NIPDES permit or a discharge permit. And so we would have an outfall somewhere on the north end of the property near the ponds. And so it would, run to the ditch and kind of flow in the ditch away from the site. And I think the drainage divide, I think it would, so if it's leaving on the north end of the property there, I believe it would run in the ditch towards the west, I think is generally the downhill direction. But the one thing is, we don't anticipate that we would discharge that much water anyway. But that's, I guess we would have the ability to do that with those permits.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. You guys have any more questions?
Good question for Rodney.
Go ahead.
Rodney, are you guys farming that?
No. The land they're building this on?
Yes.
No.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? The wishes of the board? Yep,
Well, I have a question.
yep, go ahead, Barry.
When you're talking about 1,500 parts per million, I mean that is quite small, depending on the chemicals you're using. I had the opportunity a handful of years ago to run into right by my place was using acrolein, and the 500 parts per billion is the allowable limit. So, I mean, when you start talking about allowable, it really depends on what kind of stuff you're using, and then just to keep that in mind, right? There's some of.
I'm sorry. Yes, sir. That
Acrolein is used in not drainage, but flood irrigation and stuff to keep the weeds and it can down in that. As long as you're not using something like that, that I got no issue. But if that's something that you have in mind, yeah, well, that's a whole different problem.
Right. Yes, sir. And I should have been more specific. So that 1,500 parts per million is total dissolved solids. So that's things like calcium, magnesium, sulfate, carbonate, sort of the stuff that's in normal well water. And in fact, the water that starts out as evaporative cooling water blowdown is right from the rural water. And so it's just rural water that's concentrated a little bit. So there's no organic chemicals or anything like that added. We will have, there'll be limits on pH for the discharge. There'll be limits on total suspended solids, and trying to think what else there, and then also on oil and grease. So and we've got kind of quite a few different facilities in a couple different states, and I've never came across the chemical you mentioned there, and they do make us test our wastewater for just about everything at some of the plants, and I don't think we've ever had that one pop up. But yeah, no, your point is well taken. It's just essentially concentrated rural water.
Okay, well that makes me feel better, because I wasn't too sure if we were talking about chemicals or if we were just talking about basically just dissolved or dried up water. So yeah, because that some of that stuff out there is pretty nasty, but as long as it's not that kind of stuff, I got no problem.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Okay, what are the wishes?
Make a motion to approve with staff comments.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Dan? Shane?
Yes.
Louise? Is she still there?
Louise, you still on?
Yeah.
Is that a yes?
Yeah, it was hard to hear my name. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, do you vote? Is that a yes? Yes, you're on, but yes, you vote in favor of it?
In favor of it, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Barry,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Adam,
Yes.
Tate.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Kevin, for calling in. Thank you.
Bye now.
Next one. We have Aaron Trauger, behalf of Plains Pipelines, Montana, for CUP for storage of bulk fuel. Is currently southwest quarter, section 35, 154, 102. Obviously out in Judson Township. Sam, anything on this one?
Yes, thank you. So like Mr. Chairman had described, this is a conditional use permit to expand the Trenton crude oil station by adding two 95,000 barrel tanks for future pipeline capacity. The applicant had previously obtained approval for the same request in 2019. However, they were not able to construct or to place the tanks within that 18-month allowable time frame. So nothing has changed. But just since we have some new commissioners, I'll just kind of go through what they're requesting. So our conditional use permit is for the storage of bulk fuel, since that's a conditional use in heavy industrial zoning district. They do have two existing access points into this site off of the highway there, Highway 1804, and then one off of 48th Street. The driveways accessing onto pavement will need to be paved, and then the access points that are accessing onto gravel will just need to be maintained up to the county standards. So this road right here is the gravel road, and then obviously 1804 is a paved or a hard surfaced road, and those access points will need to also be paved or hard surfaced. There will be no additional traffic added to this area as a result of the tanks. Additional crude oil will be coming in via pipeline to the site. The applicant had approached the water board back in 2019 and submitted a de minimis effect study, which is a lesser intense stormwater management plan. This was approved. They did gain full approval per county or per the engineer for the water board. I spoke to him just about this project. And then there is included in your packet our typical CUP evaluation criteria. You can see those. And then Plains Pipeline has submitted some information just regarding what will be constructed on the site. And then their conditional use permit for the two tanks back in 2019 is also included, and that's where the Board of County Commissioners had granted that request. One thing, so I'm not mirroring the same conditions that were placed on that original request because some of them aren't necessary anymore. So they don't need to obtain approval from the water board. They already have approval from the water board, and since nothing's changing with from their original request, they don't need to approach the water board again. And then we've seen the civil site drawings, so we don't need those. And then the track out pad approved from the fire marshal. We don't have a county fire marshal. There's a state fire marshal, and I'm not quite sure how that is relevant, so I just removed that condition as well. So as you'll see, there's just two conditions requested by staff, and that's to construct and maintain all interior access ways, whether that's pavement or gravel, depending on where they utilize the approach, and then on-site lighting shall conform to Williams County zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations.
Thank you, Sam. Any questions for Sam?
Sam, has there been any communication on that with Judson Township?
So, let me pull that up. No, we didn't receive any comment from Judson Township.
I think their meeting was tonight, Sam.
Oh, okay.
So we haven't heard anything.
So, and if they do submit comment, we'll take that to the Board of County Commission if it moves forward from your commission.
Last time around, was there any issue with them?
No.
Questions for Sam? I will open up the hearing. This is a public hearing. Any public input? Any public input? Last time, any public input? I'll close the hearing. What are the wishes of the board
Motion to approve.
with staff comments? Is there a second?
This is James, I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Dan? Shane?
Yes.
Louise? Barry?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Tate?
Yes, motion carries. Next item, Ed, you're on the docket again for Carol Baldwin for a zone change of rural residential. This property is currently in the agricultural zoning district, and it is in 12 Mile Township. Sam, anything on this one?
Yeah, thank you. So this plat looks a little bit complicated, but it's not really. There's just some easements running through the site. And then also there was just an easement that had to be platted where the road extends out to. So don't let that scare you when you're looking at the plat. But basically a pretty straightforward minor subdivision to create 2 lots, parent parcel being 70 acres. 2 newly created lots will be 18 and 52 acres. Access to the 18-acre site will be off of 53rd, and then the larger property can also be accessed off of 53rd or County Highway 52. So here's the, or 42, sorry. Here's the proposed 18 acres, and then the remainder 52. The 52 will remain in the agricultural zoning district, with the 18 being rezoned potentially, or that's the request, to rural residential. We just received township recommendation, and they recommended to approve this zone change request.
Thank you, Sam. Any questions for Sam at this time? Okay. I will open up the hearing. This is a public hearing. Any public input? Any public input? Last time, any public input? I'll close the hearing. What are the wishes of the board? What are the wishes? What would you all like to do? Do not say it all together. Jeez.
How many acres of farmland have we turned over tonight? Nice to get a clarification. I mean, I understand them splitting some of their land and selling it, but every farm set out there seems like they're splitting every quarter off to
My question really,
everybody to move out the country.
I can't disagree. My question is, why would they take out that portion of farmland when it ties right into their field?
Pete, if I could comment.
Yep.
The purpose of this is, it's currently in a family trust, and 2 of the relatives are, as part of the disbursement of the property, 2 relatives are getting these 2 parcels, and the intent is that they'll keep using them as they exist today, that it'll be intentions of building any residences or any other changes to the property.
Okay. Thanks, Ed. That makes much better sense. Okay,
Motion to approve.
with staff comments. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Shane?
Yes.
Louise?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Adam,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Tate.
Yes, motion carries. Next item is the calendar, which is on the last page there. You've got for the meeting dates, which is the third Thursday of every month. Do we need a motion on that, or we do? Is there a motion? I guess, does anybody have any suggestions, or is everybody good with that? Okay, can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item, we've got the organization of this commission itself. We need to do this once a year. I know we did it in January. That's because we goofed up. That was our fault. So here before us, we need to have a chair and a vice chair for the upcoming year. What are the wishes? What are the comments? What are the recommendations?
The rest of the board is good with it. I would say let's leave it the way it is. I made my motion.
Is there a second to that?
This is James. I'll second that.
Second.
We have a couple seconds. Is there any further discussion? I can do, everybody can do that, right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next meeting will be January 3rd. What? That's not for us. January 19th, based off our calendar that we just approved. Anybody else have anything? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Aye.